All right, boys. So today's going to be another one of them little confronting images, kind of thought experiments that I like to run in my brain. But it's based on a very common question. It's a question that I hear a lot, and it's a question that I had myself for the longest time. And that question is, if the scriptures are written by man, and we accept and know the folly of man and the inherent sinful or flawed nature of man, then how are we to know that any one path, any one scripture, any one way is the way to God? Because if everything that we interface with on a daily basis in the world around us is affected at the very least by man, then that means that we've got our little fingers all over it. So by extension, that logic says that if man has had a touch point with everything that we have, then it's probable or also a necessity that man has had a chance and has corrupted anything that we may be treating as a divine path or a divinely inspired word or a worldview, religion. And like I said, it's on its face, it's logically consistent, and it's something that I got caught up on for basically my whole entire life. I'm a man, I'm a flawed man, and I see flaws in humanity. I see flaws all day, every day, all around me. In my own self, in my own mind, in my own life, in the people around me, in the world at large. It's very evident. It's not a secret what I'm saying right now, and this will not come as a shock to anybody. So why then does it not follow that we as a species or as a people wouldn't have corrupted anything that we touched? And this is a question that I hear a lot as well. On my faith journey, I've been asked this many times by people very close to me, close mates, and people who are on the way or kind of dwelling in places where I spent most of my life as well, in a kind of altered, twisted, and a modified version of spirituality, modified to the extent that it fits me well, and that's kind of where most people are at in today's day and age. But let's get into this question, yeah. If men are corrupt and we've touched everything, then by extension, scriptures are corrupt. As I said, it logically follows, but it's missing one very key point. And that is that if we're dealing with a creator here, obviously you have to come at it from a certain worldview. You have to be at a certain point of your journey to entertain this topic. But if a creator exists and this creator designed every single thing that we see around us, top to bottom, then the three O's come in: omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. And basically that's just fancy words for all-powerful, all-knowing, and ever-present. So if we're going to entertain the three O's and we're going to assume that a creator, to create something of this absolute beauty and magnitude, then he would fulfill these three O's. And now the next question, which kind of interrupts this train of thought when it comes to, if men are corrupt, then that means everything that we've touched, including scriptures. If scriptures were written by man, then by extension, man's corruption would have fallen into these scriptures, and by extension they're corrupt too. Okay, but we're ignoring the very important factor here, the most important factor, which is the creator himself. So I ask people that ask me, this is a question that I was confronted with. I don't know if I got asked specifically this or I found it. I'm not sure exactly where this idea came from in my mind. But once I was confronted with the thought of it, whether it came from my mind or not, I had to really pause. I had to really, spend a lot of time marinating on that. But the first logical question is, if we have an all-knowing, all-powerful, ever-present creator, then do you think that it's possible that he would allow for his word or the path for his creation to find him to be hidden or corrupted? Does that follow logically? To me, it doesn't. How's that going to work? An all-powerful, all-knowing, ever-present, he's everywhere at once. He's going to allow for his creation, this feeble existence, this feeble being that we are, he's going to allow for us to corrupt his path, the path that leads us back to him, the truth about him, the true words that are left behind that lead back to him? I don't think so. But getting into the kind of confronting image that I have, devised in my own head to highlight the severity of this and the obviousness, if I can talk English, the obviousness of this, once you think about it, from, as we do, being the finite beings that we are, being the flawed beings that we are, it's easier for us to imagine things from our perspective. So how do I do it in this regard? So if you're a parent, this is going to be easier for you. If you're not, it's not too hard, especially if you're a man, even women maybe even more so. But this comes from a pretty masculine perspective of protection, Actually, it's both. I can correct myself on that. But if you're a parent, this is going to be easier. So imagine you have a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, whatever, a young child. You've got a young child at home and you're in control, right? This is your house, your rules, things are done your way, you're the provider, you're the protector, and basically the house more or less runs under your stewardship. So being either imagining your child or putting yourself in the situation of imagining that you have kids and then running this thought experiment, imagine the love and the protection and the responsibility that you feel around your child. Yeah? And you're in control of what you're in control of. You're not in control of everything, but you're in control of a lot, being a parent. And then imagine, after you put your son or daughter to bed of a night time, and after you tuck them in, you go and open your front door, you see them peacefully doze off into sleep, maybe you read them a bedtime story. And then you go to the front door and you let some strange dude stroll into your house, wake your child up of a night time. You go and tuck yourself into bed, meanwhile, and you go to sleep, and you let this strange person, this strange man, in to share time and space with your child. What are the chances of that? Can you see that as even a feasible possibility that you would allow a stranger in to share moments, to share time with your child, to potentially corrupt the path, the way, the design that you have for their life? Obviously, you want the best for them. You're their provider, you're their protector, you're their benefactor. And you lay out life before them in the way that you see best for them. You're trying to do the best for them. Going to make mistakes, obviously, but we're flawed. So what are the chances that you, as a loving, caring parent, allow somebody into your home, inside your home, into your child's room, while you sleep, to spend unsupervised time with? What are the chances? You tell me, out of 100. Nobody sane is going to say nothing above 0%. So what makes you think that an all-powerful, all-knowing, ever-present creator would do any less? In his perfection, we are not perfect. We are flawed. Sometimes we will make mistakes, maybe some, horror stories of babysitters or even family members. Things go wrong, right? That's within our finite control, but we're talking about an infinite being. So that's the kind of confronting image that I put forward to visualize from a human perspective how impossible it is when you actually think about it. As soon as you accept the Creator, you don't have to follow a particular religion, you have to accept Christ, you can accept a Creator, What are the chances that you allow the chance for your creation to find you to drop to zero. Because what's the original question? How do we know that humans haven't corrupted the scriptures? And it's valid up to a certain point. Because there is no way that an all-knowing, all-powerful, ever-present creator will allow no possible way to return to him and to have relationship with him, to have intimacy with him, to have knowledge of him and the truth of him. There's no way. That's a 0% one. The same percentage as letting a stranger into your house to spend unsupervised time with your child. And that's the point I want to drive home here, because if we follow it logically, there's just no way around it. And as valid as that question is, I've been there, like I said, I've spent most of my life there. But once I realized this point, boom, that's game over. That whole question, that whole doubt, it's bye-bye, flies out the window. The next possible question that kind of is attached to this is, okay, so let's just say that God would never allow for such a thing, which is it's the logical conclusion. But if God is all powerful and all knowing and all present, then why would he allow for any corruption of his word whatsoever? But then we're kind of diving into another topic, which is, what is the need for sin? Why does sin exist? Why does evil exist? And it's valid, but it's kind of it's a tangent to this video. The answer, to give you a quick summary, is free will. Love requires free will, because without free will, there's no way to know if the person who you're in a relationship with truly loves you or not, because they've only been presented one option. Like the old saying goes, if you love something, let it go, and if it comes back to you, it was yours to begin with. So that's the short answer to the second potentially connected question here, which is, like I said, if God is all powerful, then why does he allow for any of his word to be corrupted? The point is free will, and then by extension love. But the other side note to this is, if we're talking about this way, there's got to be one way that leads us back to our creator, to our benefactor. And God, as a triple O being, will not allow for that road to be corrupted. But that also kind of logically follows that every other way will be, because we're corrupt, and we've got our grubby little fingers all over everything. So this is kind of also leading, in a way, it leads to the truth. There is one truth, and it is Jesus Christ. And basically, every little rabbit hole you want to go down, whether it's conspiracies, whether it's these thought experiments, theology, philosophy, I will argue vehemently that every single road leads back to Jesus Christ. But that's a topic for another day. What we're talking about now is, just to wrap it up, that not only is it impossible that there will be no road back to God, but by extension, logically, it does follow that there will only be one road that is real and legitimate. And it's our job as the Creator's creation to find it. So I'm going to leave it there. As always, comment, let me know your thoughts. If there were some little tangents that you want me to go down in a separate video, let me know. I'll be happy to get into it. If you've got some push back. Until the next time. God bless.